Hello and welcome to the show. This is Everything Under the Sun. My name is Ty. Hope all of you have been doing amazing. Hope your New Year's have started off with all the best intentions, all the best hope, all the best love, all the best mindset towards moving towards the things that we want for ourselves, whether that's internally or externally. And really it all begins internally. It all begins in that place where we believe that we can have it, that we believe that we deserve it, that we believe that we can achieve that thing, that we believe that it's something that's meant for us in our lives right this moment. And that's what will start to bring that fulfillment in our life. So hold true to those New Year's intentions, hold true to those things that you're moving towards, because they will begin to manifest in your life in incredible ways. And this unfoldment, we have no idea how these things will unfold in our life. So just go with the journey, go with the flow, hold that hope, hold that peace, hold that knowing that it will happen. And I know that it will. So I'm excited to hear all the great things that y'all are putting your intentions towards and how that manifests in your life. So yeah, keep holding on towards that. Like I said in this episode, I kind of want to start moving into really finding a more meaningful way of ingesting this information of our oneness, because I know that it's a lot. It's kind of very confusing. And years ago, I came to this realization. It was very shocking to me, and it was almost very scary. And I kind of turned away from it. And my depression and stuff happened after that. Like, I was trying to explain to people about this and I didn't really know the words, and it's not something that we can really explain. But I tried to turn away from it. I actually would think, it's like, why me, kind of like as if it was a suffering that was given to me, because I didn't have anyone to connect with. I didn't have anyone to communicate it with. So I ended up just becoming very angry. I think I spoke about this in one of my episodes, so I'm not going to relive that whole entire story, but essentially it's something that's very confusing. And even for me, I think that's what caused the aggravation too, because it was this understanding that I didn't really know how to even comprehend or ingest totally. So it was something that I was trying to find words to express to other people to understand it, but in my own mind I could hardly understand it myself. I was always very logical minded, always. I still believe myself to be that, but my logic now moves with my heart. And I realized that, along the journey, I realized that, I wanted understanding for my mind. I wanted understanding within myself in order to really stand firm in what this all meant. So after my depression, this was years and years later. I think it was like 6 or 7 years later that I started to really move back into this, after I started going through that depression and, just that really dark stage within my life. And, I'm so thankful for that stage in my life. And I call it a dark stage, but in truth, it was something that brought about greater enlightenment, because as we go into those depths of darkness, we realize that first off, we can survive, that we're still here, that it's still something that cannot control us. It's something that cannot keep us down. It's something that cannot hold us down, as long as we realize that it can no longer hold us that way. And as I started to come out of that, as I started to realize that, I still can survive. I have all these incredible strengths. I have all these incredible abilities. I love myself for being myself. And that feeling that I had of being in that dark place, it helped me to understand that I don't want to be there anymore. That I've understood it. I know it. I know it so much that I expected it in my life. And I no longer want to expect that in my life. So I started to shift, and I started to move back towards this place of just wanting to move towards peace and understanding. And as this understanding came, there were different things that came to me. The Kybalion is one of those things. It's a book that you can read, and it's very I believe it's a text that allows more for the thinking minds to comprehend this idea of just what all this is, all of creation, the laws of creation. These things are very potent and very important as we move through this life, because it can help us move through this life more easily. And if you have a thinking mind like I do, then it may be like, I need logic. I need some kind of logic in order to find an understanding in what all this means, in order for it to make sense for me. And that's completely understandable. So I like to bring examples in. I like to bring different illustrations and things that have helped me. I'm not bringing anything at all in this podcast that I myself have not talked to myself about, that I've not worked with myself with, that I've not embraced within myself or acted within myself, or still learning within myself. All of these things are things that just helped me. And it's helped me so greatly that this understanding has become more and more firm, that my joy in my life has become more and more firm, that no matter what arises in this experience, that joy, that happiness, that ability to see that I am okay, that all is well. And that's not necessarily something that externally may be seen, but within, I know that I am okay, and I know that all is well within myself. And that's all that matters, because that's what brings me joy in each and every moment. And that has extreme power as we allow that to move within our every steps in our lives. So as I was getting to, this is an example of something that has helped me to radically understand this wholeness and this vastness. And I utilize this all the time. And, I did taper off of it, kind of like thinking about this, because other conceptions start coming in your mind as you recognize this wholeness more, as you allow that veil to be removed more. All of the things behind that veil will start to present themselves to you. And it can start from just one action, maybe just meditating every day, or thinking about whatever vision that you have for the things that you want for yourself in your life. All of these things are just things that they help to remove that veil of you can't do that, or that's not possible, or that's just not the truth. You remove that veil, and all the things that are behind that start to reveal themselves to you. So utilizing this example, it's something that helped me to remove many veils within my mind, and many other things started coming in. So this example, this idea, this imagery that I'm about to present to you is something that maybe faded out of my mind, but then came back, because it's always present there. It's always very much there, and you'll understand as we go through this why I'm saying that, and how it will always be with you. And as we recognize that, we know that we can always come back to it. We know that we can always learn something more from it. And as I was preparing for this episode, or kind of thinking about this episode, I brought this back into my mind, and new things have been understood out of it. New ways of connecting with this life, new ways of moving in this life, new ways of experiencing joy and freedom, like true freedom in this life. And it's something that's so incredible. Nothing in this physical world can bind you. It is just a reflection of the things that we've believed, that things that we've held on to. And it's nothing to shun or to be judgmental of. It's like, if we've had an experience that wasn't necessarily pleasant, we don't necessarily need to judge that or judge ourselves, saying that, why would I create something like this? Why would I do something like this? Or why did this happen? We don't have to judge it. We can just observe it and know that the image within our mind, the feeling within our hearts, the feeling of love and success and joy and wholeness and freedom, those things will be reflected. I mean, it is the law of correspondence. It is the law of attraction. It is, it is something that is incredibly powerful and potent and immutable. It's something that just will happen. So we can hold more and more firm to that belief as we start to just move through this life, as we start to realize that there's so many things in this life that are just opportunities for us to learn how we've been thinking and how we wish to think from this moment forward. So in this example, I know that was a semi-long introduction. So in this example, I'd like you to just relax the body if you can. I'm not sure if you're driving, then don't relax too much. But I'd like to invite you to relax the body and even close the eyes if you're capable of doing that right now. And just breathe. Allow yourself to take 3 deep breaths in and exhale deeply. And allow yourself to come to a place of peace. And something with meditations and things like that, we're not going through meditation necessarily right now, but something with meditations, a lot of time you close your eyes, you get in a comfortable position. These are things that help you to close your eyes to the world. All these things in the physical world are just symbols. When you close your eyes, you're closing your eyes to the world. You're saying that, what my eyes see, this isn't the reality that I wish to focus on right now. When you close your eyes, maybe you start noticing things in the body, sensations or pains or aches or whatever in the body, and you notice the thoughts that are associated with those pains and aches. Notice them, just as you would notice a cloud, but let it pass by. Don't focus your attention on it. And again, this is letting go of the physical world. This is letting go of the ails of the body and what the body eyes may see. It's really just saying the physical world can be put on hold for right now. And even if you are driving or you have to keep your eyes open for whatever reason, you don't have to close your eyes to be in a meditative state. Really closing your eyes and allowing yourself to let go of the sensations of the body, these are things that just allow you to tell the mind that my attention, I want it focused on inwardly. I want my attention focused inwardly rather than externally. And as you come to a place of really resonating with that internal dialogue, with that internal being that you are, that speaks on its own. You don't need words to speak to yourself. And when you get to a point where you can fall back into that, you can be in a walking meditation. You can drive, you can do your life, and you can just see the world. You can just observe it non-judgmentally, non-expectantly, just observe it. Observing the pains in the body, and again, allowing it to pass by. Allowing it to just pass by your awareness. So there will be an episode on meditation. I may have a guest on that show actually, but again, I'd like you to get comfortable and take a few deep breaths to allow yourself to connect with yourself, your true self, the one that's within. And in this space, this vastness of your mind, I'd like you to imagine a neighborhood. Create a neighborhood, in fact. What does this neighborhood look like? How many houses are in the neighborhood? Do they look all the same? Do they look different? You're looking over this neighborhood as if you're flying over it, or you're in some kind of drone. You can see all the houses and you can see their lawns and all these different things. What does this neighborhood look like? Just to create it within your mind. Now, in this neighborhood, focus on one house. What does this house look like? What color are the shutters? Are there shutters? Is it 1-story or 2-story? What color is the door? Is there a big lawn? Is there a fence around the lawn? How does this house look? Imagine it. And something maybe that you've noticed already is that you may have even created weather conditions around this house. Maybe it's a sunny day, or maybe it's a partly cloudy, or maybe it's raining, whatever the weather condition is, but this was something that's an automatic creation. You are a creator. So imagine this house, all the features of it. And now I'd like you to imagine going into the house. And in this house, you walk into the dining room and you see a table with the family sitting at it, and they're eating breakfast together. Notice this family. What are they eating? What kind of foods are on the table that they're eating? Maybe you have already automatically imagined who the family members are and the ages of the children, if there are any. So many things we automatically create. So at this table, who are the family members? Who's there? Is it a mom and a dad and children? One child, maybe. What are their ages? Now imagine them in communion, just living their lives, eating this food, connecting with each other, maybe talking about their day at school, or what they're really excited about, or new things that are coming to their life. Now try to imagine each of those individual family members and what they're saying. Is the dad talking about something he read in the newspaper? Is he telling a dad joke? Is the mom asking the children about, what they're excited about or what they're looking forward to? Are the children excited about school? Or are they screaming? Or are they, very complacent? Are they, enjoying whatever food that they're eating? Maybe it's waffles with a bunch of syrup. Too much syrup, the mom says. Whatever you imagine, just imagine this family. And now, just in this imagery, you recognize that there's this family that's eating at this dining room table in this house, in this neighborhood, on whatever kind of day it is. Maybe it's a sunny, beautiful day. As we realize that all of this is a creation of our mind, you realize that the livelihood, the beingness of each of those family members is all within your mind. Their personalities, their whatever they're eating on the table, whatever they're speaking about, their laughter, their joy. If you go into more depth with this family, you can even imagine what they're eating and the sensations that they're feeling as they eat this food. Maybe you can imagine the thoughts that are happening within each family member. Maybe the dad is reading something in the newspaper. I'm not sure why this dad's just reading the newspaper all the time, but maybe the dad's reading something in the newspaper and thinking, wow, like this is really interesting. And this is a thought that you're creating about his thought. Okay, and as we recognize that this mind that we are with in this world is something so incredibly expansive, we don't utilize it as often as we are capable of. As we realize that it is something so vast, and we recognize that the creation of this vast mind cannot be any less vast than the vastness of our mind. I know that may seem kind of wordy, but you get what I'm saying. You are that mind. You are that great mind that creates all things. You are one with that. And now, the thing with this experience of life that we experience right now is that we believe ourselves to be one of those family members. We believe ourselves to be the dad, or the child, or the mother. And that's it. We're at that breakfast table with our family and we're eating. But the thing is, we've forgotten that the truth is we're all connected. When I say we're all one, all things are connected. All the thoughts, all the ideas, all the sensations, all the foods, all the tastes, all the things that we experience in this life, everything is connected because, just as this example that we've gone through, you can create an entire universe within your mind. And if you went further and further and really concentrate on this with all the vastness that you are, well, you may spend all of your human lifetime really intricating an entire universe. But in truth, that's just the restriction of time and space. In truth, you're creating entire universes right now. And you're dwelling in the experience of one of your universes. But we've forgotten that we are that creator. We forgot that we are the one that's creating the whole thing. We are connected to all of it. Now, at that breakfast table with that family, just because all of them are one, it doesn't mean that they are not who they are. And this is the trick of duality, the thing that kind of creates a battle within the mind of many people, because we feel as though, how can we all be one? If we are all one, that means I am nothing. Well, that's true, but it's also not necessarily true, because you do have your individuality in this vessel, in this life. Yes, you are in the body of the dad, but you can also recognize your life in the body of the mother and in the children. And it doesn't mean that you have to live their lives for them or try to move them in their life. Your greater mind is already doing that. You can just recognize your oneness with all of it. You can recognize your connection with all of it. And as we start to recognize that realization that we are all connected in the same thing, we are all connected in this experience of life, we can move through it more freely, knowing that in truth nothing can harm us, because we are not necessarily the body. We are not that body that we've attached to. We are not that personality that we've attached to. We are the being that creates all of it. And I know that even after just introducing that example, it may still seem like a very vast concept to bring yourself to that vastness. But I promise you, as you dwell on this more, as you recognize that there is a way that you can even imagine every single thought and sensation of each family member. You can imagine them going to the beach and feeling the grains of sand on their feet as they walk, hearing the waves clap against the surface of the shore, hear the seagulls flying above. Maybe you can even imagine other people in their lives. Maybe you can start imagining friends and family and other beings coming into their experience. You can start imagining conversations that they're having with each other. And you can even start imagining them becoming enlightened, becoming awakened to this truth that they only dwell within your mind. And as we realize that even that action can be done, the awakening to the realization that our creation is one with us because we've created them, then we can start realizing the immense freedom that the creation always had. And now we may start to look at that example and say, well, if I'm thinking about every action that they're doing, then they don't necessarily have free will. Well, maybe that's not something that you've introduced into the factor. What would free will look like in a way that essentially is still part of this oneness, still part of this oneness of creation? The ability to move around. They were eating at that breakfast table. I asked you to imagine them eating at the breakfast table. Were each of them not eating at the breakfast table? Did you not imagine them eating at the breakfast table? Now, you weren't necessarily orchestrating their hands going into their mouth and the chewing, but you can imagine them eating the food. What's not free about that? I'm not controlling their movements. I'm just imagining them eating. And we can expand that even further to just allowing creation to be exactly as it is and to unfold as it is, but it doesn't negate the fact that it's still all one. Now, this example can go on forever because, again, I've been using it for years, but think about it within your own mind. Come back to this family at this table, and maybe you realize that even time seems to be irrelevant within this space. Have you created time within this factor? Do they age? I remember after that lull that I went through where I stopped thinking about this example, I went back to that example and the family was still eating breakfast at the table. Because, time is not really anything. Each moment is really the experience of what's being perceived. And just in any instant, I can imagine that those family members have aged and time had gone by and they're eating a different breakfast and their room is slightly different. Maybe they moved to a different house. You can imagine that instantly. Time doesn't have to necessarily go by. But in this time-space reality that we live in, I know that I keep going back and forth, but in this time-space reality that we live in, if you were to see a family eating at a breakfast table and there are children at the table, and then you see another image of a family where they look similar, but they just look older, the kids are older, and they're in a different house, in a different setting, our time-space mind that we've created within this world that we've been raised in, we'll say, okay, well, there had to be a series of instances that happened throughout their life in order for them to get to that point. So we create that, and that's something that, again, this example, it can go into very deep places and in very deep conceptual places, but at the end of the day, it's like, this is for you to unfold for yourself. I am just sharing the things that have helped me to gain better understanding. I'm in no way telling you any way to think or any way to be or any way to move in this world. I'm just explaining and expressing the things that have been meaningful for me. I've always been very, again, thoughtful, very thinking, very much in my head about things, and I wanted to understand this aspect of oneness. How can all of creation be one, but I feel like an individual? And I come to this family and I realize that this family is my own creation. And yet I can embody the father. I can embody the mother. I can embody the children. I can embody the food. I can embody the table and the chairs and the sensations that they feel as they're sitting in the chairs at that table. The sensations of the food going into their mouths, each and every one of them. And you can do this as well with that family that you've created. And isn't that something so incredible? And just because we start to evolve in that understanding to say, well, if I've created this and this is similar to the creation of all of this life that I see in this physical world, then what does that mean about my being? This being that I thought myself to be individually as, what does that mean? This feeling of moreness of myself, of my own self that I've been feeling, is this something that could be tied to this? Can I look at this family and this example of raising consciousness or raising awareness or raising the knowing of our oneness? Can that be something that I experience in this life as well? Can that be something that I do in this life? And how would I do that? Okay, well, let's just go back to the family. So again, this episode was really just to bring an image within the mind. Something that you can play with yourself. You can either take it in and have it be something that you imagine, that you go back to, that you realize that you can boundlessly create this world outside of this dining room. And you can really create and realize how incredible of a creator that you are. And then when we say, Oh, our higher self is always looking out for us. Universe is always looking out for us. God is always looking out for us. This is, everything is God. Everything is the universe. Everything is source. Everything is creation. Everything is love. I haven't used the word God before, but I've used it before, years ago, but not in recent years. And, but this is God. Everything is God. Your thoughts, these thoughts, the ideas that are coming within your own mind, the sensations within your body, all of it is God. All of it is love. And I know that love can be very confusing to say because of its, obscurity. We've looked at love as being attachments to other people and other situations, but, love is unconditional. Under any condition. It means that you can do anything that you want to. You can create anything that you want to. And sometimes we create things that are pretty messed up. Okay, the same illustration within the mind is the same reason why we have television shows. Game of Thrones, I don't know if you've heard of it or watched it yourself, but there's some stuff that happens in that show that's pretty twisted, yet people love it. People absolutely love it. And it came from the mind of creative people who also loved their creation. They loved creating this villain. All of creation is done out of love. All of it's done out of love. And sometimes the expression of it is done through a filter. And therefore it comes out distorted. It comes out in ways that maybe we wouldn't imagine love being. But it's all love because it's all free will. You can create villains if you want to. You can create demons. You can create terrible, terrible circumstances if you want to. And it's not something to judge. It's just something to notice that we are incredible creators. Create these things within your mind if you like to. You can create devastation for this family. But then, immediately you can uncreate it. But again, really what I'm getting at is that we are incredible creators. And with that creation, we can start to expand that more. We can start to realize what is this incredible mind that's creating it. Where's that neighborhood? The vastness of an entire neighborhood right within your mind, right within your own being. That's incredible. You can imagine nebulas and exploding, stars and suns that are bigger and brighter than the one that's within our solar system, and it will be incredible. And it's all within. How incredible is that? So when we recognize ourselves to be one with that creation, one with the creative mind, one with God, one with source, one with love, then we can start to move more in alignment with that, move more powerfully within that. Because in truth, all of these are just words. Source, higher power, God, love, these are all just words. The truth of our being is, we just are, we are. And there are words that definitely have a lot more energy around them, like God, omnipotence, and these things that seem to expand beyond the physical world that we've seen, expand beyond the beliefs that we've held, expand beyond the hopes and the imagining and all of the things that we've judged in this world. It moves all beyond that. And it seems like it's something unrealistic because it's so vastly different than what we've been seeing. And again, just as we started this meditation off, close your eyes, let go of those sensations of the world, and allow yourself to be in that vastness of your mind that creates solar systems. It is vast and expansive and has nothing to do with this physical world. Give more value to that. I'm not telling you to believe in anything. I'm not trying to move you down a path of religion or anything like that. I myself am not religious. But I recognize this oneness of creation. I recognize what centuries of people have called God and the oneness that we have with that God, with God of all things. I mean, it's not like a God that's a ruler. It's just, it is just the omnipotence of this life that we are. Just like you are omnipotent in that neighborhood, in that world, in that family, in that food. You are creating all of it. You are omnipotent. You are the air that they breathe. You are the thoughts that they're thinking. You are the words that they're speaking. You are all of it. As above, so below. We can imagine that on this scale of creation, of the scale of using this imagery within our mind, we know that there's another level of creation. We can just utilize that scale of correspondence to know that as above, so below. As I envision this within my mind, I can recognize, I can conceptualize this on a grander scale. And that will unfold incredible creations for you. I promise you that. But again, this life is yours. Live it the way that you want to live it. If this is something that does not resonate with you, I'm sure maybe you're not even still listening to this. But if it's not something that resonates with you, then don't listen to it. Let go of it. Move towards your happiness. And that is something that I will always encourage. Even if it's in complete opposition towards anything that I've been saying in this podcast, if it's your happiness, then I will encourage it. Move towards your happiness. Move towards the things that bring you joy. Always, 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 always. Because the truth is that we are all that is. And that does not change. We are above time and space. We are above all these things in this life. And it doesn't matter what we do in this life, because it won't change who we are. But we can come to that realization of who we are and move in this life in a more joyous way. Move in life in a more peaceful way. Because that's what we want for ourselves. So allow that for yourselves. Allow this to unfold. Allow yourself to expand to the vastness that you are. Allow yourself to realize that we are connected, and these words are yours because we're one. We may seem to be different family members sitting at that table, but again, we're within the great mind. We're all within that one mind. We are in communion together always. And again, if one of those family members at that table were to drop dead, they still exist within your mind. They're still present. Even if that entire family fades away from your vision, they're still present. They will always be with you. There's no place else they can go. And this is why I don't believe in death. Because just because the body goes away, it does not mean that we go anywhere. So again, this example is just something that I've used, something that has helped me, something that has helped me to conceptualize in greater degrees. As I was saying before in the last episode, there are only so many examples that we can use in the physical world to explain the higher realms, the higher dimensions, the higher being of ourself. So we have to start using higher planes, the mental plane, the plane of imagery where we can imagine, again, entire universes. That is a plane beyond time and space, and we have so much power of creativity within there to have and gain so much understanding. So utilize it in whatever way you want to, and know that it will help you to gain greater understandings. So allow yourself to imagine, allow yourself to dream, allow yourself to use this expansiveness that you are to create greater understanding. So that's all I have for this episode. If you have any thoughts or ideas or anything that you'd like to share, you can send those to everything.sunpodcast@gmail.com. You can join any of the social media groups: Instagram, everything.sunpodcast, Twitter, @everysunpodcast, the Facebook group, @everysunpodcast, and the YouTube page, Everything Under the Sun Podcast. And that's all I got. I love you all so much, and I'll talk to you soon.